What's going on, friends? Logan Myerz here for Cinephellas.com to review the first great horror film of 2018 on Netflix. I'm talking about David Bruckner's The Ritual. I want to throw a quick shout out to our friends over at Terror Threads for this, if you can see it. Awesome Lost Boys tank top, one of my favorite horror films of all time. Huge fan, so I'm glad I had this in my collection. Thanks to you guys. Really appreciate it. I'm wearing it with pride. So with The Ritual, David Bruckner, the director, you may be familiar with his work if you're a horror fan like me. He directed the movie VHS, which is an excellent horror flick, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. The Ritual takes place with English mates. They're at a pub talking about taking a holiday or vacation, and they're kind of joking back and forth about, drinking, going to Amsterdam, and one of their friends talks about going hiking up in Sweden. Like us, older folks, you don't always just want to hang out with your friends and drink the whole time. You want to go exercise and hike. So they're contemplating what they're going to do on this holiday. So at the end of the night, they're at the liquor store. They're picking up some booze before they head out, and something really bad happens. One of their friends gets murdered, and Luke is standing there. He could have, prevented the situation. He's hiding in this liquor store while these guys are robbing the place, and he could have saved his friend, but he just stood there hiding and didn't do anything about it. So fast forward 6 months later, the remaining four fellas are going up to Sweden to hike in memory of their friend, and they have a little picture of him to say goodbye. They pour out their flask. So they have Luke, Phil, Hutch, and Dom. The only actor I was really familiar with was Luke, played by Rafe Spall. He was in the Edgar Wright films, End of the World, and Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz. He had a small part in The Big Short, but he was the only actor I was really familiar with, and he really is the focal point of this story. And Luke is trying to deal with the grief, and what happened to his friend when he was there, and he could have done something about it. So he's, bringing a lot on his shoulders and has a lot to deal with, while the rest of the friends are still trying to continue with their lives and move forward and enjoy this holiday. And with this film, the camera shots are beautiful. They're up in the mountains. Just huge forests and mountains, and it starts to get rainy and cold, and they have to get out of there, so they have to start hiking back. And then one of the guys ends up hurting his leg, so he's like limping along, and they have a long way to go. They're trying to make it back to the lodge because the weather's shit, and they're looking at the map, and they're like, oh, look at this, there's a shortcut through this huge forest, let's do this. With a lot of horror films, there's always some tropes. Like taking the shortcut, we'll get there a lot faster. Nothing bad could happen, right? No. So they're going through this large, treacherous, scary-looking forest to get to the lodge, and obviously things don't turn out as planned. And what's great about this film, it's a horror film that doesn't show you much. It's the things that you don't see that make it scary. The ominous music, the treacherous trees and forests, and catchy glimpses of something that's out in the woods after these guys. And the guys are walking, it's night at this point, and they come across the cabin in the woods. We've seen that before, right? And they're joking, this is gonna be the place where I die. All of these guys are having bad dreams in this cabin, and they're like, let's get the fuck out of here. And Luke is like onto something. Something happened to him in particular, and he's like, guys, we got to get out of here. So the next morning it's light, and they set out again to go to the lodge to get out of this forest before anything bad happens. By this creature, you can just hear its noise and its roar, like out in the woods, and they're all looking around. They're like, where the hell is it? So that, that's another key example of how this movie is great. It builds that suspense with that ominous music, the sound of this monster, kind of in the distance. They encounter more and more weird stuff in the forest, like symbols on the trees and more noises, and they're pretty much screwed. They don't know how to get out of here. The compass stopped working halfway through, and they're trying to look at the map, and they have no idea what to do at this point. Up into the third act, this movie was really, really good. It was very eerie, kept you on the edge of your seat, and it was terrifying. The end of the movie where they finally show the creature, it kind of lost me there. I thought it would have been better if they just kind of kept going at the pace they were and showing less is more. They come across this little commune, this cabin, there's torches, and this group of Swedish people that are really scary looking, that looks like they've been there since the 1700s. And one of the ladies that speaks English out of the rest of the people that didn't, she tells Luke that, the mythology behind the creature, it was the bastard child of Loki, a little Nordic mythology, and what entails with this creature and what they need to do in order to survive. The Ritual is definitely the first good horror film on Netflix this year. It's really, really captivating. It's scary. There's a lot of terror in it with the use of music and the camera work and not seeing what's out in the forest surrounding these men. And that's what kept me going throughout the film up until the end. Their performances were great. You could see that the terror in their eyes. This movie had to feel like The Blair Witch meets Deliverance meets The Descent, you know? These masculine men going into this forest and seeing the terror and fear in their eyes and trying to figure out if they're ever going to go home and see their wives and kids again. David Bruckner did a great job directing this film. They filmed this 6 months up in the Scandinavian mountains in Transylvania, you know, the homeland of Dracula, so it really set the tone of this film. If you've not seen The Ritual, definitely check it out. If you're in for a good scare and some fear in your life, definitely watch this on Netflix. It's streaming right now. I'm going to give The Ritual a 3 out of 5 hair pieces. So if you have seen The Ritual, let us know in the comments below what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myerz signing out from the Scandinavian mountains. Hopefully that creature doesn't find me, because I will not kneel to him. Until next time, cheers!